Ready to go green with our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Get Claret and Clear. Get back to feeling like yourself again.
I'd say you'll see that 29 car, Kevin Harvick, get both hands and feet up on that steering wheel trying to get back on the lead lap.
I think Kurt wanted to get away from him as soon as possible. Well, we'll see if the theory holds true. The car out front, nobody can pass it. Mark Martin couldn't be passed. They had to pass him in the pits. Why is the pit so important? To take the lead of the race.
Dale Earnhardt used to tell me it takes me about 12 seconds to pass him on pit road. It could take me about 12 or 30 laps to pass him on the racetrack.
Three wide, Jeff Gordon got squeezed out of the middle while racing for 6th place right there. 3 wide going into turn 1. Here comes Stewart underneath. Nope, he'll go with Gordon around the lap number 34 of Andretti.
Got quite a battle there for the 4th spot between Denny Hamlin in the 11 car and Jimmy Johnson in the 48th. I think Chad Knaus, they've had just enough opportunities to get that car where they want it, and now this racetrack is starting to cool down.
I was just going to say, did you say 48?
Oh, yeah.
Now, Steve, Tony Stewart came into the pits 3rd, came out 8th on that last pit stop. What happened?
Mike, it looks like they had trouble on the right front of that 14, front tire changer Kelly Kellis, but here's the big key, Mike. When Tony got back out onto the racetrack, he was the cheerleader. He said, guys, don't worry about it. We're better than that. Let's do better on the next stop.
And Steve, he was their cheerleader at Texas. He told them under caution, just slow down. Just give me nice, good, consistent stops.
A lot of 3 wide racing here. And not always a whole lot of room to race. How about Martin Truex in 11th, Steve?
Mike, you guys said it earlier, not a good qualifying effort. He predicted he'd be in the top 10 by lap 50, and he was. They also had a little bit of a problem on pit road. He got into the back of David Rudiman's 00 car, but he likes his car, saying it's got good grip in the front.
Let's show you what Steve just described.
Yeah, I saw these guys. 00
Wow.
just pulled right out in front of the one car, and he got into the back of him. I don't think he got into him very hard until this happened.
A little old, by the way.
He just gave that dog a bone.
How about Rudiman, Matt?
Mike, right before that caution, David Rudiman told his crew chief, Rodney Childers, we need something big. He had just lost the nose of the race car on that stop. They made a quarter turn a wedge. He just needs to roll through the better, but he says the car is free and exit, but whatever you do, don't touch that. I'm happy with it.
Rudiman is 10th.
And I think that backs up what we've been saying. You can't be tight right now. The car has got to turn because it's only going to get worse as this race cools down.
And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the tires, the car, or a combination of both, but these cars get looser when the sun goes down in a lot of cases.
Cut. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
Subway Fresh Fit 500 is sponsored by Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. By Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic, our ultimate clean, your ultimate feeling. By Sprint, NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race. And by State Farm, where great coverage meets great rates.
Kurt Busch has led this race since lap 105. We're at lap 122 now. He's got a second up on Mark Martin. Greg Biffle is the 3rd place car. Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin. All 4 makes represented in the top 5. Now, about 3 laps ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. running toward the back of the pack made a wild slide in turn number 2, and everybody went by.
Mike, this car is evil. I mean, I'm watching it all the way around the racetrack. When he picks up the throttle, it turns sideways. What's he saying, Dick?
Well, he just said that the car is incredibly loose. They did pull a spring rubber on that last pit stop, but Earnhardt came into this event as one of the favorites to win it, but between problems on pit road and problems with the behavior of the car is just not handling, he certainly isn't looking like a winner at this moment.
And you would tend to believe they pulled that spring rubber out of the right rear spring, because in that spring in the right rear, it would make the car turn, but can make it a little bit loose under acceleration.
And maybe if they get another shot at it before he gets in too much trouble here, go a lap down or whatever, put that rubber back in and one more to go with it.
There you go.
Because sometimes jacking that right rear up will make the car drive better.
Paul Menard just in front of him. Menard, who's had to make multiple pit stops under caution. And here is Stewart passing Denny Hamlin. This is for 5th place.
You know, I can't help but also think back to yesterday as Tony gets a little bit loose off turn 4. Tony ran probably more laps than anybody, long race runs, and it just looks like that 14 car is good on the long run. Maybe not a short run car, but good on the long run.
I like a car good on the long run because, you know, you obviously can pass a few people. But look where Tony is. He's going into turn 3 right now. And here comes the leader, Kurt Busch, at the line right here. So even though he's good on the long run, you can't make up that distance you lost on the short run.
Just ahead of Stewart, Jimmy Johnson is 5.5 seconds behind the leader in 4th place, Matt.
The small work in progress, Mike, continues for Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canals. Jimmy said right before that last stop, the car is so much better in the center of the corner. It's unbelievable. And when you look at the fact the past 3 races here, Mike, he is left with a lot of money in race winnings with his 3 straight wins. But on Thursday night, he made a big deposit here in the Phoenix area. He sponsored the Jimmy Johnson Foundation 150, the Camping World West race. They raised $75,000, part of which is going to go to a local group called the West Valley Child Crisis Center. So in my book, call it 4 wins in a row for Johnson here in Phoenix.
And if he thinks whatever they did to the car is unbelievable, wonder what he thinks the rest of us think, because they do that all the time.
Well, we move now into the 2nd segment of this race. The sun's gone. You can see it over the horizon behind the suites in turn 1, but there's no direct sunlight on the racetrack. That means Mark Martin was the leading sunshine boy along with Kurt Busch in the 1st segment of this race. Now we transition to dusk. What will the racetrack do?
Well, it's going to gain more grip for everybody because it's really cooling down. And like Darrell said, I think these cars go different directions as we see a battle right now for 10th place between Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 and Brian Vickers in the 83. I think some of the cars will get tighter, but we've also seen where some of the cars get looser. And about 100 laps from now, it'll go through that final transition when darkness sets in.
We are 128 laps in with 184 to go. Kristen.
Well, Mike, Larry, you just talked about the car getting loose. Brian Vickers is one of those. His car is getting really loose under throttle. They made an air pressure adjustment. Ryan Pemberton talked about wedge, but Brian said, no, I don't want to hurt the center, so they did a track bar adjustment instead. Brian just got on the radio and said, the car is much better, but I know Darrell will relate to this. Still need more of that same adjustment as last time.
Yeah, keep jacking on it.
But I think you do have to be really careful. If the back end's not hooking up, hook the back end up. Don't unhook the front end. I like it right now.